Hi dear. Welcome to your favorite audiobook channel Wisdom Flicks, The Art of Strategic Thinking. Before you finish, why this book could change how you live and lead. Imagine if every decision you made, big or small, moved you closer to your goals instead of leaving you stuck or overwhelmed. What if you could see opportunities others miss, navigate uncertainty with confidence, and turn obstacles into stepping stones? The art of strategic thinking isn't just about business success. It's a toolkit for mastering your mind, mastering change, and mastering your life. Inside these pages lie insights that can transform not only your career but your relationships, your habits, and your sense of purpose. Are you ready to stop drifting and start designing your future? This book is your guide. Introduction: Why Strategic Thinking Matters in Life and Business. Imagine standing at the edge of a vast chessboard. Each move you make influences the next, not just your own, but also your opponent's. The game is not won by chance or brute strength. It is won by strategy. Life and business are no different. Every decision we make sets into motion a series of consequences. To navigate them well, we need more than instincts. We need strategic thinking. Strategic thinking is not reserved for generals in war rooms, CEOs in board meetings, or politicians crafting policy. It's a skill for everyone: parents, students, entrepreneurs, creatives, and professionals alike. At its core, strategic thinking is about making intentional choices that lead toward a meaningful outcome, even when the path is uncertain. It is about thinking beyond the present moment and positioning ourselves for long-term success, sustainability, and clarity. In our fast-paced world, where distractions are endless and decisions are made quickly, the ability to step back, assess the bigger picture, and plan with foresight has become a superpower. Strategic thinkers don't simply react. They anticipate. They don't chase every opportunity. They evaluate which ones align with their vision. And they don't panic in chaos. They look for patterns, leverage, and direction. Take the story of a young entrepreneur starting a small tech company. Without strategic thinking, they may fall into the trap of copying competitors, chasing trends, or burning through resources too quickly. But with a strategic mindset, they consider not just the next step, but the steps after that. They ask, what's the ultimate goal? What problem are we solving that others aren't? Where is the market headed in 5 years? They build systems, not just products. They position themselves where the world is going, not just where it is. Or consider someone navigating a personal crossroads, whether to change careers, end a relationship, or pursue a passion project. Strategic thinking brings clarity here too. It encourages you to ask the right questions. What's the cost of staying the same? What values matter most to me? How does this decision affect my future self, not just my current comfort? In this book, we will explore how to think strategically, not as a vague idea, but as a practical, learnable skill. We will uncover the mental models, habits, and frameworks that great strategists use. You will learn how to anticipate problems before they arise, how to allocate your resources wisely, how to outmaneuver challenges, and how to make decisions that align with your long-term purpose. Strategic thinking does not require a high IQ or advanced degrees. It requires awareness, discipline, and the willingness to pause and reflect. It's the ability to zoom out, see patterns, identify leverage points, and then zoom back in to execute effectively. More importantly, strategic thinking empowers you to live with intention, to choose your battles, to align your actions with your values, to stop reacting to life and start directing it. You may be facing uncertainty. You may feel stuck or overwhelmed. But strategic thinking offers a way forward. Not always easy, but always deliberate. This book is your guide as we journey through the chapters ahead. You will be invited to sharpen your thinking, challenge your assumptions, and embrace a mindset of strategic clarity. Whether you're a leader, a dreamer, or simply someone who wants to make better decisions, this book is for you. Let us begin by unlocking the mindset of a strategist. Chapter 1. Thinking Ahead. The mindset of a strategist. Strategic thinking begins with a mental shift, a decision to look beyond the surface, beyond the immediate, and into the broader landscape of possibility. It's not about having all the answers. It's about asking better questions. It's not about reacting faster. It's about responding wiser. Strategic thinking is about seeing through complexity, identifying what truly matters, and planning actions that move you toward long-term goals with purpose and precision. The essence of thinking ahead to think ahead is to live ahead. It's the ability to imagine future scenarios and make present-day choices that prepare you for them. Think of a chess grandmaster. Their brilliance doesn't lie in the move they're making now. It lies in the 10 moves they've already thought through. In their mind, they anticipate outcomes. They prepare for possibilities. They play the long game. This is exactly what strategic thinkers do. Whether they are leading a company, managing a household, building a career, or simply navigating life, they are constantly thinking beyond the next step. They ask, what does this lead to? What are the second-order consequences? How does this decision impact not just today, but tomorrow and next year? Strategic thinking is about time travel in your mind. You mentally move forward to explore how today's decisions will shape the road ahead. Then, you return to the present with a clearer perspective and act accordingly. Short-term thinking versus strategic thinking. The world rewards urgency. It celebrates speed, productivity, and action. But speed without direction is wasted energy. This is where strategic thinking breaks from the crowd. It doesn't rush. It reflects. It resists the temptation to make decisions based solely on short-term gains. Short-term thinking asks, what's the fastest way to win today? Strategic thinking asks, what's the smartest way to sustain success over time? Consider an employee who's given the chance to take on a flashy project that looks good on the surface but distracts from their long-term goals. A short-term thinker might jump at it for instant visibility. A strategic thinker pauses and considers, does this align with where I want to be 5 years from now? Or is this just noise disguised as opportunity? Strategic thinkers delay gratification for greater gains. They see beyond trends and temptations. They make decisions that support sustainability, not just visibility. Developing the strategic mindset. How does one begin to think like a strategist? It starts with cultivating specific mental habits. Point 1. Zooming out before zooming in. Strategists don't just dive into details. They first take a bird's-eye view. They ask, what's the context? What are the larger forces at play? How does this fit into the bigger picture? Once the broader view is clear, they zoom into the details, but only those that truly matter. They don't get lost in noise. They stay focused on the signal. Point 2. Scenario planning. Strategic thinkers prepare for multiple outcomes. They rarely bet everything on a single path. They think in what-if terms. What if this doesn't work? What if the market changes? What if our assumptions are wrong? They build flexibility into their plans. They stay adaptable without losing direction. Point 3. Pattern recognition. Over time, strategic thinkers become excellent pattern readers. They begin to notice recurring behaviors, market trends, and organizational cycles. They use past information not just for nostalgia, but for insight. Pattern recognition helps them anticipate what's coming, often before others even sense a shift. Point 4. Prioritization of leverage. Strategic thinkers understand that not all actions are created equal. Some tasks deliver 10x results. Others only offer marginal returns. They constantly ask, where can I apply the least effort for the greatest impact? What are the few moves that change everything? They focus on leverage, not busyness. Point 5. Emotional detachment from outcomes. One of the most overlooked aspects of strategic thinking is emotional control. Strategic thinkers don't cling to every outcome. They remain centered even when plans shift or fail. This detachment allows them to see situations objectively, recalibrate swiftly, and avoid impulsive decisions driven by ego or fear. The strategist's inner dialogue. A strategist doesn't just think differently. They talk to themselves differently. Their internal dialogue is rich with reflection and forward-looking questions. What is the goal behind the goal? If I say yes to this, what am I saying no to? What's the opportunity cost? What does success look like a year from now, not just tomorrow? This kind of inner questioning trains the mind to think intentionally, not reactively. Examples of strategic thinking in action. Business. Steve Jobs was not just a product innovator. He was a strategic thinker. When he returned to Apple in the late 1990s, he simplified the product line and focused on innovation that aligned with long-term brand identity. He didn't chase market trends. He set them. He saw where the future of design, media, and mobility was heading and moved deliberately in that direction. Sports. In basketball, coaches like Phil Jackson were renowned not just for playbooks but for game philosophies. He didn't just train players to win games. He trained them to adapt to pressure, read the flow of the game, and play with strategic intent. That mindset helped build dynasties. Everyday life. Think of a person planning their finances. A short-term thinker may spend impulsively, hoping for a raise later. A strategic thinker plans savings, investments, and expenses in alignment with long-term goals like buying a home, traveling, or retiring early. They build their future intentionally, not accidentally. Strategic thinking as a way of life ultimately. Strategic thinking is more than a decision-making tool, it's a way of being. It invites you to live with purpose, to lead with intention, and to make choices today that create a better tomorrow. It doesn't mean over-planning or eliminating spontaneity. It means knowing where you're headed, so that when you're spontaneous, you're still moving in the right direction. To think ahead is to lead ahead, whether you're leading a team, a family, a mission, or yourself. Strategic thinkers don't wait for the future to happen to them. They shape it. In the next chapter, we will explore how to balance long-term vision with short-term action, a critical skill in mastering the art of strategic thinking. Chapter 2. Long-term vision versus short-term action. One of the greatest challenges in strategic thinking is mastering the delicate balance between long-term vision and short-term action. Many people either fixate too much on future possibilities or get trapped in the demands of the present. True strategic thinkers, however, know how to bridge the gap between where they are and where they want to be. They understand that vision without action is fantasy, and action without vision is chaos. This chapter explores how to cultivate a clear long-term vision while executing the right short-term actions that move you steadily toward that future. The power of a long-term vision. A long-term vision is like a lighthouse. It doesn't pull you forward, but it guides your direction. It gives purpose to your decisions, structure to your goals, and meaning to your journey. It helps you filter opportunities, prioritize your time, and stay grounded when distractions arise. Having a vision means asking yourself, where do I want to be 5 or 10 years from now? What kind of life or career am I building? What values do I want to live by? What legacy do I want to leave behind? A well-defined vision doesn't necessarily mean you know every step in advance. Instead, it provides a guiding principle, a North Star that helps you navigate uncertainty with confidence. It keeps your energy aligned and your decisions focused. The risk of living without a vision, without a long-term vision, even the busiest life can feel aimless. You might stay active, but not effective. You may climb a ladder, only to realize it was leaning against the wrong wall. Think of a ship with no destination. No matter how fast it sails or how skilled its crew, it will drift endlessly unless it knows where it's going. That's what life feels like without a vision. Motion without meaning. In contrast, those with a strong vision move differently. They choose projects, jobs, relationships, and habits based on where they're headed. They don't chase every trend. They stay centered in purpose, strategic action, the bridge between now and later. While vision sets the destination, action builds the road. But not all actions are equal. Strategic action is about taking small, meaningful steps today that align with your long-term goals. It's about designing each day to contribute to something bigger. Short-term action becomes strategic when it moves you closer to your vision, builds momentum instead of just motion, prioritizes impact over mere activity, is sustainable and repeatable over time. Ask yourself regularly, does this task contribute to my future goals? Is this action building the skills, relationships, or reputation I need? What small step can I take today that my future self will thank me for? Common pitfalls in balancing vision and action. Strategic thinkers avoid two extremes: living only in the future and getting stuck in the present. Point 1. The dreamer's trap. Only living in the future. These are people with grand ideas and beautiful visions, but no movement. They may have brilliant plans, but take little consistent action. They wait for the perfect time, the perfect conditions, or more confidence. But clarity doesn't come from overthinking. It comes from doing. Even the best strategy is useless without execution. You can't reach the summit unless you're willing to start the climb. Strategic thinkers act, even when they feel unsure. They don't need every step mapped out. They just need the next 1.2. The hustler's trap, only living in the now. On the opposite side are those consumed by urgent tasks. They're busy, always moving, but often directionless. They check off to-do lists without asking whether those tasks actually matter in the long run. Productivity without purpose is noise, and movement without meaning leads to burnout. Strategic thinkers pause often. They reflect, realign, and make sure today's actions are building tomorrow's outcomes. A framework for balancing both. Vision action alignment. To bring both sides together, use a simple mental model called the vision action loop. Clarify the vision. Know what you're aiming for. It doesn't need to be perfect or fixed forever, but it should be clear enough to guide decisions. Think in terms of 5 or 10 years, career, lifestyle, values, and impact. Reverse engineer the milestones. Break your long-term vision into annual goals, then into quarterly or monthly priorities. This gives you a practical structure to work with. Design daily actions. Align your habits, routines, and work with those smaller milestones. Ask yourself, what is one thing I can do today that supports the long-term plan? Regularly reflect and adjust. Every month or quarter, step back. Revisit your vision. Ask, am I moving in the right direction? Have my goals evolved? Do I need to adjust my strategy? This loop ensures you are thinking big while acting small and staying focused on what matters. Case study. A personal example of strategic balance. Imagine someone named Aria. She's 30 years old, working as a graphic designer, but her long-term vision is to become a creative director at a major agency. Her plan is not just about a job title. It's about leading with purpose, influencing brand storytelling, and building a team that thrives on innovation. Aria sets a 5-year vision to guide her. Then she reverse engineers what she'll need. Advanced design skills, leadership experience, a powerful creative portfolio, strong industry relationships. Each quarter, she takes one focused step. She enrolls in advanced courses, she volunteers to lead projects, she networks in design communities, she builds a personal brand online. Every action she takes in the short term is intentional. It may seem small today, but over time, it compounds. It builds the bridge to her vision. This is what strategic thinking looks like in real life. Not big leaps, but small aligned actions taken consistently. The discipline of patient strategic thinking also requires patience. Long-term vision does not pay off overnight. There will be moments of doubt, detours, and delays. But the key is to stay aligned. Not perfect, but persistent. The best strategists aren't just smart, they are consistent. They keep showing up, they keep building, and they trust the process. Questions to ask yourself to close this chapter. Reflect on these guiding questions. What is my long-term vision? What do I truly want? What actions am I taking daily? Are they moving me closer or pulling me away? Am I trading long-term growth for short-term comfort? How can I act today in a way that honors the future I want? By aligning long-term clarity with short-term commitment, you create momentum that lasts. You stop drifting. You start directing. You live and lead strategically. In the next chapter, we will explore a core challenge for every strategist: making wise decisions under uncertainty. You'll discover how to stay calm, analyze options, and take confident action, even when the path ahead is unclear. Chapter 3. Strategic decision-making under uncertainty. Strategic thinking is easy when the path is clear, the choices are simple, and the outcome is predictable. But real strategy is forged in uncertainty. It's in the moments of doubt, ambiguity, and complexity that strategic thinkers truly separate themselves. Because anyone can decide when the answer is obvious. But when outcomes are unclear, when data is incomplete, and when the stakes are high, this is when strategic decision-making matters most. In this chapter, we'll explore how to make sound decisions in the face of uncertainty. You'll learn how to assess risks, weigh trade-offs, stay calm under pressure, and move forward even when there is no perfect answer. The nature of uncertainty. Uncertainty is an unavoidable part of life and business. Markets shift. People change. Information evolves. You'll rarely have all the facts, and even when you do, outcomes can still defy logic. Strategic thinkers don't run from uncertainty, they lean into it. They recognize that certainty is a luxury, not a requirement. Instead of waiting for clarity, they develop tools to act intelligently in spite of the unknown. In uncertain environments, fear and hesitation often cloud judgment. But fear-based decisions are rarely strategic. They are emotional reactions, disguised as logic. The true strategist knows how to slow down, clear the noise, and evaluate choices based on principles, not panic. What makes a strategic decision? A strategic decision is not just a smart choice. It's a calculated move that supports a larger purpose. Strategic decisions are not always obvious. Sometimes they involve choosing a harder path in the short term to protect or enhance long-term positioning. Here are 3 defining qualities of a strategic decision. It aligns with your long-term vision. It accounts for uncertainty, not just current facts. It maximizes flexibility and adaptability. Let's explore the tools and frameworks that help you do this in practice. Step 1. Define the problem clearly. The first mistake people make under uncertainty is solving the wrong problem. Strategic decision-making begins by pausing to clarify what you're actually trying to decide. Ask, what decision am I really making here? What outcome am I aiming for? What are the constraints? What are the options? Clarity at the beginning avoids wasted energy chasing irrelevant answers. The clearer your problem, the more focused your solution will be. Step 2. Embrace probabilistic thinking under uncertainty. There is rarely one right answer. There are probabilities, possibilities, ranges of outcomes. Great strategists think in probabilities, not guarantees. For example, if you're deciding whether to invest in a new business idea, you don't ask, will this succeed or fail? That's binary. Instead, you ask, what's the likelihood this works? What are the most likely outcomes? If it fails, how bad is the downside? If it works, how good is the upside? This mental shift allows you to make smarter bets, not emotional ones. Strategic thinkers don't need 100% certainty to act. They make decisions when the odds are in their favor, and they design systems that can survive if they're wrong. Step 3. Assess risk versus reward. Every decision has a cost. Strategic thinkers weigh that cost against potential return. Ask, what's the potential upside? What's the worst-case downside? Can I afford the risk if I'm wrong? What will it cost me to do nothing? Sometimes, the risk isn't in acting, it's in waiting too long. One useful framework here is expected value. Think not just in terms of what could happen, but the value of each possible outcome multiplied by its probability. If the potential gain outweighs the risk, strategic thinkers act. If the downside is catastrophic, they either mitigate the risk or pass. Step 4. Run what-if simulations. Uncertainty lives in assumptions. So test them. Before deciding, imagine a few different future scenarios. Ask, what if this takes longer than expected? What if my assumptions are wrong? What if external factors change suddenly, like the market, technology, or customer needs? This isn't about predicting the future, it's about preparing for it. Strategic thinkers build contingency plans, buffers, and backups. They ask what if not to create fear, but to build flexibility. Step 5. Stay emotionally neutral. Uncertainty often creates anxiety, and anxiety clouds thinking. Strategic thinkers train themselves to remain calm under pressure. They don't panic when the path isn't clear. They create mental space before responding. They breathe. They analyze. They zoom out. Emotions are information, but they are not instructions. In strategic decision-making, neutrality allows clarity. It helps you separate the signal from the noise. It helps you avoid reactive decisions based on fear, pride, or ego. To build emotional neutrality, create space between stimulus and response. Avoid rushed decisions. Unless the situation demands speed, get input from trusted advisors or mentors. Sleep on major choices. If possible. Step 6. Decide, then execute. With discipline, once a decision is made, strategic thinkers commit. They don't keep second-guessing themselves endlessly. Remember, no decision is ever perfect, but indecision is always costly. What separates strategic thinkers from overthinkers is that they gather enough insight to act, and then they move forward with discipline. They monitor outcomes. They adapt when needed, but they don't freeze. They decide, and then they lead. Strategic thinking in real life. An example, let's say you're considering quitting your stable job to launch your own business. The situation is filled with uncertainty, income, market response, timing. A reactive thinker might rush into the decision or avoid it out of fear. A strategic thinker would clarify the real goal, not just quit my job, but build a business that aligns with my skills and lifestyle vision. Map out possible scenarios. Best case, likely case, Worst case, assess financial runway and backup options. Start building the business part-time. To validate demand, set a clear exit plan with defined checkpoints. They wouldn't wait for everything to be certain, but they'd act intelligently, reducing unnecessary risk while moving toward their vision. The art of making peace with uncertainty. Perhaps the most important lesson in this chapter is this: strategic decision-making doesn't eliminate uncertainty. It gives you the tools to move through it. You will never have all the answers, but you can ask better questions. You will never control the future, but you can prepare for it wisely. Uncertainty is not a reason to freeze. It's a reason to think sharper, plan smarter, and act with greater awareness. Every leader, creator, entrepreneur, and visionary you admire, at some point, they had to make decisions without guarantees. What made them strategic wasn't what they knew. It was how they thought when they didn't know. Reflection questions to close this chapter. Ask yourself, what major decision am I currently avoiding because of uncertainty? What assumptions am I making that need to be tested? Am I emotionally calm enough to evaluate this decision clearly? What's the worst-case scenario, and can I survive it? In the next chapter, we'll dive into the mental models that the world's best strategists use to think more clearly, make sharper decisions, and navigate complexity with confidence. Would you like me to continue with Chapter 4, Mental Models that Sharpen Strategic Thinking? Chapter 4, Mental Models that Sharpen Strategic Thinking. Strategic thinking is not just about making plans. It's about sharpening how we think. And to think more strategically, we need to upgrade the tools we use to process reality. That's where mental models come in. Mental models are frameworks or simplified representations of how the world works. They help us understand complexity, identify patterns, and make better decisions. In many ways, they are the lens through which we see the world. The clearer and more refined that lens, the better our thinking becomes. In this chapter, we'll explore what mental models are, why they matter, and which ones are essential to developing powerful strategic thinking. Think of these models as intellectual tools. The more of them you carry in your toolkit, the more prepared you are to face challenges and seize opportunities. What are mental models? A mental model is a concept, principle, or analogy that helps you understand how something works. You already use them, whether you realize it or not. For example, you may think in terms of supply and demand to understand pricing, cause and effect, to assess consequences, opportunity cost. When choosing between options, these are all mental models. But the best strategic thinkers don't rely on just a few. They develop a latticework of mental models from various disciplines: economics, psychology, physics, philosophy, and beyond. Charlie Munger, the longtime business partner of Warren Buffett, famously said, "You must know the big ideas and the big disciplines and use them routinely. All of them, not just a few." Strategic thinkers build mental flexibility by drawing from multiple models, not just relying on one way of viewing the world. Why mental models matter in strategy. Mental models sharpen strategic thinking in 4 major ways. They simplify complexity. In uncertain or fast-moving situations, mental models help you focus on what matters. They improve judgment. Models reveal blind spots, cognitive biases, and flawed assumptions. They expand perspective. Using diverse models allows you to look at problems from multiple angles. They reduce error. Models act as guardrails, protecting you from impulsive or emotional decisions. Let's now look at some of the most useful mental models for thinking strategically. Essential mental models for strategic thinking. 1. First principles thinking, used by innovators like Elon Musk. First principles thinking involves breaking down problems to their most fundamental truths and reasoning up from there. Instead of copying what others are doing, you ask, what are we absolutely sure is true? What are the basic elements at play? If we were starting from scratch, what would we build or decide? This model helps you challenge assumptions and rethink problems from the ground up. It's particularly useful when facing complex challenges or disruptive environments. Point 2. Second-order thinking. First-order thinking looks at immediate results. Second-order thinking goes deeper. It asks, what happens next? And after that, strategic thinkers think in layers. They understand that every action has ripple effects. For example, giving customers a steep discount might increase short-term sales, first order, but damage brand value in the long run, second order. A fast promotion at work might feel like progress, first order, but lead to burnout or misalignment if it's the wrong role, second order. Always ask. And then what? 3. Inversion flips the problem. Instead of asking, what do I want to achieve? Ask, what do I want to avoid? For example, instead of, how can I be more successful? Ask, what would guarantee failure? Then avoid those things. Instead of, how do I grow faster? Ask, what behaviors are slowing us down? By thinking backwards, inversion exposes hidden threats and clears the path for smarter strategy. Point 4. The 80-20 rule, Pareto principle. The 80-20 rule suggests that 80% of outcomes often come from 20% of inputs. Strategic thinkers identify the vital few activities that drive the majority of results. Ask, what 20% of actions produce 80% of my progress? What few relationships, habits, or projects have the greatest leverage? Then double down on those and eliminate or delegate the rest. This model prevents burnout and sharpens focus. Point 5. Opportunity cost is what you give up when you choose one option over another. Strategic thinkers don't just ask, what will I gain? They also ask, what am I missing by choosing this path? For example, saying yes to a project might mean saying no to personal time or a better opportunity later. Holding on to a safe but unfulfilling job may cost you years of purpose-driven growth. Every choice comes with a cost. The key is to choose with awareness. Point 6. Circle of competence. This model reminds us to know what we know, and more importantly, what we don't. Strategic thinkers play within their circle of competence, but they're also honest about their limits. They ask, am I qualified to make this call? Do I need advice, or should I delegate this? Knowing your edge makes you more confident in your strengths and cautious around your weaknesses. Point 7. Game theory is the study of strategic interaction. It helps you understand how others are likely to act in competitive situations. Key questions include, what does the other side want? What incentives drive their behavior? If I move first, how will they respond? Game theory teaches you to anticipate moves, shape incentives, and think like an opponent. This is crucial in negotiations, leadership, and business strategy. Point 8. Margin of safety borrowed from investing. This model means building buffers into your decisions. Strategic thinkers don't bet everything. They prepare for error. Examples include budgeting extra time or resources, building emergency savings, launching a product in a limited market before scaling. Margin of safety allows you to take risks without being reckless. Point 9. Availability bias. One of the most dangerous traps in decision-making is confusing what's most visible with what's most accurate. Strategic thinkers know that recent or vivid information tends to feel more important, even when it's not. For instance, just because a news story is trending doesn't mean it reflects reality. Just because something worked for someone else doesn't mean it applies to you. The solution? Seek broader data. Question your first instinct, and be willing to dig deeper before drawing conclusions. Point 10. Occam's razor says, the simplest explanation is often the best. Strategic thinkers don't overcomplicate. They seek clarity and cut through noise that if two options are equally likely to succeed, the one that's simpler to execute is often smarter. Simplicity creates speed, reduces risk, and enhances communication. Using mental models together. No single mental model works in every situation. Strategic thinkers don't rely on one. They combine them. For example, when launching a new idea, you might use first principles to design it, second-order thinking to forecast its impact, opportunity cost to weigh it against other priorities, margin of safety to reduce risk, the 80-20 rule to focus execution. Strategic power comes not from having one tool, but from knowing which tool to use when building your mental toolkit. Here's how to sharpen your own thinking through mental models. Study across disciplines, psychology, economics, philosophy, science, and systems thinking. Keep a mental model journal where you record models you encounter and how they apply. Reflect on past decisions. What model did you use or fail to use? Discuss with others. Hearing how others think reveals new models and blind spots. The more models you internalize, the more confidently you'll navigate complex decisions. Closing thought. Mental models are not tricks or shortcuts. They're wisdom filters. They help you see clearly in moments of noise and move with confidence through uncertainty. Strategic thinkers rely on them not to make perfect decisions, but to make consistently better ones. In the next chapter, we'll explore how pattern recognition, a trait found in every great strategist, helps you spot hidden trends, anticipate change, and seize opportunities before others even notice them. Chapter 5, Pattern Recognition. Seeing what others miss. One of the most powerful abilities a strategic thinker can develop is the skill of pattern recognition. At its core, pattern recognition is the ability to observe what's happening in the world, connect seemingly unrelated dots, and identify meaningful trends or cycles before they become obvious to everyone else. Strategic thinkers don't just react to events, they see them coming. They notice the early signals of change, the behaviors that repeat over time, and the hidden structures behind apparent randomness. This allows them to act earlier, adapt faster, and often outmaneuver others who are still trying to catch up. In this chapter, we'll explore what pattern recognition really is, why it's a cornerstone of high-level strategy, and how you can sharpen this powerful mental skill in both life and business. What is pattern recognition? Pattern recognition is the process of identifying regularities, correlations, or trends in data, behavior, or situations. It's how we interpret meaning from chaos. It allows the brain to filter noise, make predictions, and respond more effectively to the environment. Everyone uses pattern recognition to some extent. We recognize familiar faces, rhythms in music, or the tone of someone's voice when they're upset. But strategic pattern recognition goes deeper. It's not just about recognizing what is happening. It's about understanding why and predicting what comes next. A strategic thinker trains this ability across multiple domains: human behavior, market movements, cultural shifts, team dynamics, and more. Why pattern recognition is a strategic superpower. Strategic success often depends not on raw intelligence or resources, but on timing, specifically the ability to see early what others see late. Pattern recognition gives you a crucial edge in 1. Anticipating trends rather than waiting for a shift to become obvious. You notice subtle indicators that suggest a bigger change is coming. This applies to industries, consumer behavior, technology, and even personal relationships. Point 2. Avoiding repeating mistakes. You begin to recognize cycles of failure within teams, systems, or yourself, and break them before they repeat. Point 3. Seizing opportunities others overlook by connecting unrelated pieces of information. You spot opportunities hiding in plain sight. Pattern recognition transforms information into insight, and insight into intelligent action. Case study: Netflix's strategic pattern recognition in the early 2000s. While video rental giants like Blockbuster focused on in-store traffic, Netflix began studying data on viewer preferences. They noticed a shift in how people consumed entertainment. They wanted on-demand content, not physical DVDs. This wasn't obvious at the time. But Netflix saw the pattern early and made a bold move, shifting from DVD rentals to online streaming. It disrupted an entire industry because they recognized a pattern before the world adjusted. Today, Netflix isn't just a tech company. It's a strategy case study in pattern recognition and acting on it before it becomes mainstream. Pattern blindness: the cost of not seeing. When you fail to recognize patterns, you miss opportunities, repeat old mistakes, react too late, get stuck in outdated strategies. Often, the cost isn't just money or time, it's relevance. Businesses, careers, and even relationships falter because they rely on old patterns in a new world. Pattern blindness isn't about intelligence. It's about attention. Strategic thinkers train themselves to pay attention to what others ignore. How? To build pattern recognition skills. Like any mental muscle, pattern recognition can be trained. Here are key habits and strategies that sharpen this skill. 1. Observe repetitions and rhythms. Start by noticing what repeats around you. What habits or behaviors do you see in yourself over and over? What frustrations or successes do you encounter regularly? What are customers or audiences consistently responding to? If something happens once, it might be noise. If it happens again, pay attention. Repetition often signals a pattern. Point 2. Look across time, not just in the moment. Zoom out. Consider the timeline of events. Patterns often reveal themselves only when you view them over weeks, months, or even years. Strategic thinkers reflect regularly. They review past decisions, market cycles, and life events. They look for rhythm beneath randomness. Ask, what is repeating? What tends to follow what? Have I seen this pattern before? 3. Connect the dots between unrelated areas. Great strategists often borrow insights from one domain and apply them to another. This is how innovation happens, by seeing connections others don't. For example, an entrepreneur studies biology to understand business ecosystems. A leader applies lessons from sports psychology to team management. A writer draws insights from architecture to structure storytelling. Cross-disciplinary thinking expands your field of vision and enhances your ability to detect hidden patterns. Point 4. Listen more than you speak. The best pattern detectors are not the loudest in the room. They're the most observant. Pay attention to what people consistently complain about, what competitors overlook, what your audience keeps asking for, what changes are being resisted. Listening with intention reveals more patterns than talking ever will. Point 5. Keep a pattern journal. Document recurring observations. It could be customer feedback, stock movements, social media trends, personal behaviors, or market data. Over time, patterns become visible when you track them deliberately. Ask yourself weekly, what surprised me this week? What repeated itself? What changed subtly? Pattern journals are gold mines for future decisions. Using pattern recognition to avoid strategic traps. Pattern recognition doesn't just help you grow, it helps you avoid pain. Many strategic missteps could have been prevented with clearer pattern awareness. Example, leadership burnout. You notice that each time your team enters a busy season, morale dips, conflict rises, and productivity suffers. This happens every quarter, but nothing changes. A strategic thinker would recognize this as a pattern, not an accident. They'd redesign team workflows, introduce better systems, or adjust expectations to prevent burnout next time. Example, market saturation. A product sells well for 12 months, but suddenly growth stalls. Instead of panicking, a strategic thinker reviews buying trends and competitive moves. They realize this is a common saturation point. The next step? Innovate the product or pivot to new segments before the decline becomes irreversible. Pattern recognition in relationships. Even in personal life, pattern recognition matters. Think of someone who continually finds themselves in the same kind of toxic relationship. It's easy to blame others, but the wiser move is to ask, what pattern am I part of here? What am I choosing repeatedly, and why? Recognizing emotional and behavioral patterns leads to personal growth, better boundaries, and wiser choices. Strategic pattern recognition. A summary to develop strategic pattern recognition. Observe what repeats. Zoom out over time. Stay curious across disciplines. Reflect regularly. Listen deeply, and journal insights. Strategic thinkers don't wait for certainty. They act on patterns. They see the storm before the sky turns dark. They notice the opportunities before others even start looking. This doesn't require genius. It requires attention. The world is always offering patterns. Most people just aren't paying close enough attention to see them. Chapter 6. The Power of Game Theory and Strategy. In the world of strategy, you are never acting in isolation. Whether in business, negotiations, leadership, or even personal relationships, every move you make is influenced by the actions and reactions of others. That's where game theory comes in, a powerful tool that helps you anticipate, interpret, and outmaneuver the decisions of others. At its core, game theory is the study of strategic interaction. It teaches you not only how to think about your own choices, but how to predict what others will do in response and how to adjust accordingly. In essence, it's about learning to think 2 steps ahead, not just one. In this chapter, we'll break down the fundamentals of game theory, explore key principles, and show how it applies directly to real-life strategic situations. Whether you're competing in a market, negotiating a deal, or leading a team, game theory helps you win not by force, but by foresight. What is game theory? Game theory is a mathematical and psychological framework for analyzing situations where the outcome depends not just on your choices, but on the choices of others as well. These situations are known as games, but not in the playful sense. A game, in this context, is any scenario where multiple players make decisions that impact each other. Some games are cooperative. Some are competitive. Many are a mix of both. Game theory asks, who are the players? What are their goals? What strategies are available to them? What does each player know? What outcomes are possible and likely? By analyzing these questions, game theory helps you develop strategies that take other people's behavior into account. Why strategic thinkers use game theory? Strategic thinkers don't just focus on what they want to do. They consider how others will respond. They predict resistance, countermoves, alliances, and betrayals. Game theory strengthens your strategy by helping you anticipate outcomes more accurately, identifying hidden leverage points, reducing guesswork in complex negotiations, teaching you how to create win-win scenarios or avoid lose-lose ones. In other words, game theory replaces naive optimism with strategic realism. Key concepts in game theory to think like a strategist using game theory. There are several foundational concepts you must understand. Point 1. Players, strategies, and payoffs. Every game has players, the individuals or groups involved, strategies, the options or moves each player can choose, payoffs, the outcomes of each combination of strategies, measured by benefit, loss, or utility. A strategic thinker identifies all three clearly before taking action. Point 2. Zero-sum versus non-zero-sum games. Zero-sum game. One player's gain is another player's loss. There is a fixed pie. For example, in poker, the amount of money won equals the amount lost. Non-zero-sum game. Players can both win or both lose. Collaboration can expand the pie, and competition can shrink it. Strategic thinkers recognize the type of game they're playing. In business or leadership, many situations appear competitive but are actually non-zero-sum. Knowing the difference changes your entire approach. Point 3. Nash equilibrium, named after mathematician John Nash. This concept refers to a stable state in a game where no player can gain by changing their strategy unless the other players also change theirs. That it helps you understand why certain patterns persist, like pricing wars, competitive standoffs, or team gridlocks. In practical terms, Nash equilibrium teaches that sometimes the best decision is the one that best counters others' likely choices, not necessarily the one you'd prefer in isolation. Point 4. Dominant strategy. A dominant strategy is one that always produces a better outcome for a player, no matter what the other players do. If you have a dominant strategy, use it. If your opponent does, assume they'll use it. Identifying these early simplifies your strategic analysis. Point 5. The prisoner's dilemma. This is a classic game theory scenario. Two individuals are caught in a situation where the best outcome for both would be to cooperate. But because they can't fully trust each other, they end up betraying each other, and both lose. The prisoner's dilemma teaches us trust matters. Incentives shape behavior. Without alignment, rational players may still create suboptimal results. Strategic thinkers use this insight to design better agreements, incentives, and partnerships. Game theory in real life. Practical applications. 1. Business competition. Imagine two companies competing in the same market. If one lowers prices, the other feels pressure to do the same. This can lead to a price war, a classic zero-sum game where both sides suffer reduced profits. That a strategic thinker might instead shift the game, create a premium offering, differentiate through service, form strategic alliances. By changing the rules, they escape the zero-sum trap and create new value. Point 2. Negotiation. In negotiation, each side is trying to maximize their own outcome, but also must account for how their offers and reactions affect the other side. Game theory helps you understand the best time to walk away, recognize when to anchor or concede, predict the other side's likely moves. A strategic negotiator builds trust, aligns incentives, and always considers the long-term game, not just the current deal. Point 3. Leadership and internal dynamics. Even within a team, game theory applies. Each member has their own goals, motivations, and unspoken calculations. A leader who understands this can create systems that align personal incentives with collective goals. Without this, teams fall into internal competition, blame shifting, or underperformance. By thinking in terms of game theory, leaders structure interactions that lead to cooperation, engagement, and shared wins, changing the game. Strategic advantage. Sometimes the best move in a game is to change the game itself. Today, strategic thinker doesn't just ask, how do I win this game? They ask, can I redefine the game to benefit everyone? Can I create a new game where my strengths matter more? Can I shift from competition to collaboration? This is how startups disrupt industries. They don't just compete on old terms, they invent new rules. Building your strategic game theory mindset. Here are practical ways to use game theory in your own life. Always consider other players. Don't just plan your own moves, anticipate theirs. Think 2 moves ahead. What happens? After your first decision? What are the second-order reactions? Identify incentives. People usually act based on what benefits them, not what seems logical to you. Look for mutual wins. Many games can be transformed into positive-sum situations. Learn to walk away. In some games, the smartest play is not to play at all, or to delay until the odds improve. Closing thought game theory reveals a simple truth. The smartest decision isn't always the boldest or the fastest. It's the one that's made in light of others' decisions. Strategy isn't just about force or brilliance. It's about interaction, how your moves shape others, and how they shape you. The world is full of games, some obvious, some hidden. The strategist is the one who sees them clearly, plays them wisely, and never forgets that every move is part of a larger dance of choices that in the next chapter. We'll explore asymmetric thinking, how to gain unfair advantages by approaching problems from angles others ignore. Chapter 7. Avoiding cognitive traps and thinking biases. Strategic thinking isn't just about knowledge, it's about clarity. And one of the biggest threats to clarity is cognitive bias. These hidden distortions in our thinking quietly shape our decisions, perceptions, and judgments, often without us even realizing it. Even the smartest minds fall prey to these mental shortcuts. But what separates average thinkers from strategic thinkers is awareness. Strategic thinkers actively work to spot, avoid, and neutralize these traps before they cause costly mistakes. In this chapter, we'll explore the most common cognitive biases and mental traps that sabotage strategic thinking and give you practical tools to rise above them. What are cognitive biases? Cognitive biases are systematic errors in thinking that affect the decisions and judgments we make. They arise because our brains are wired to simplify complex information, especially under stress, time pressure, or uncertainty. These shortcuts are often helpful. They save time. They help us survive. But in strategic situations, where precision and objectivity matter, biases can be dangerous. Imagine making a major business decision, trusting your gut, and only later realizing that your judgment was clouded by a flawed mental habit. That's the silent power of bias. Why strategic thinkers must manage bias. Strategic decisions often involve incomplete data, uncertain outcomes, and long-term consequences. In such moments, a single cognitive error can create poor timing, missed opportunities, damaged relationships, misjudged risk. That's why elite thinkers constantly challenge their own assumptions. They build mental safeguards. They invite other perspectives. They ask not just, am I right, but could I be wrong? Let's explore the most common cognitive traps and how to avoid them. Point 1. Confirmation bias. Definition: the tendency to seek out or interpret information in a way that confirms our existing beliefs. Example: a business owner believes their product is revolutionary. They only listen to positive feedback and ignore warning signs from early users. How to avoid it? Actively look for disconfirming evidence. Ask, what would prove me wrong? Surround yourself with people who challenge your thinking, not just support it. Strategic thinkers are more interested in truth than being right. Point 2. Anchoring bias. Definition: the tendency to rely too heavily on the first piece of information encountered. They anchor when making decisions. Example: in a salary negotiation, the first number mentioned often sets the tone, even if it's arbitrary. How to avoid it? Delay exposure to anchors until you've formed an independent opinion. Always ask, is this number or idea reasonable, or just the first thing I heard? Strategic thinkers create their own reference points. Point 3. Overconfidence bias. Definition: the tendency to overestimate our knowledge, abilities, or accuracy of predictions. Example: a leader assumes their strategy will succeed without testing it because they've never failed before. How to avoid it? Question your assumptions and ask, what am I missing? Use checklists, second opinions, and pre-mortems. Remember, confidence isn't certainty. Strategic thinkers replace arrogance with humility and curiosity. Point 4. The sunk cost fallacy. Definition: the inclination to continue a project or decision based on past investment rather than current value or future potential. Example: a company keeps funding a failing product because they've already spent so much on it. How to avoid it? Ask, Would I start this today, knowing what I now know? Detach emotion from prior investment, focus on opportunity cost and future value. Strategic thinkers cut losses early and reinvest wisely. Point 5. Availability heuristic definition. The tendency to judge the likelihood of events based on how easily examples come to mind. Example: after seeing news about plane crashes, someone avoids flying, even though statistically, driving is far riskier. How to avoid it? Base decisions on data, not media or anecdotes. Seek a broader range of examples or case studies. Slow down your judgment. Pause before concluding. Strategic thinkers favor evidence over ease. Point 6. Recency bias definition. Giving more weight to recent events over historical or long-term patterns. Example: an investor pulls out of a long-term plan due to last week's market drop, even though the 5-year trend is strong. How to avoid it? Zoom out and look at long-term trends. Set rules in advance to manage short-term emotions. Ask: am I reacting to noise or signal? Strategic thinkers stay steady through fluctuations. Point 7. Groupthink definition. The tendency to conform to group opinions and suppress dissent to maintain harmony. Example: a team agrees with a flawed plan because no one wants to rock the boat. How to avoid it? Encourage open dialogue and contrarian views. Assign a devil's advocate. In key meetings, reward truth over agreement. Strategic thinkers value critical debate more than comfort. Point 8. Status quo bias definition. The preference for things to stay the same, even when change may offer better results. Example: a leader resists updating outdated systems because we've always done it this way. How to avoid it? Regularly question routines and assumptions. Embrace small experiments to test new ideas. Ask: if we were starting from scratch, would we still choose this? Strategic thinkers challenge the norm and evolve intentionally. Point 9. Attribution bias definition. The tendency to attribute successes to our own actions and failures to external factors, or vice versa when judging others. Example: if a project goes well, we say it was due to skill. If it fails, we blame the market. How to avoid it? Review decisions objectively. Seek feedback from neutral observers. Practice self-awareness and emotional intelligence. Strategic thinkers own both wins and losses. Point 10. Survivorship bias definition. Focusing only on success stories, while ignoring those who failed using the same strategies. Example: reading about a billionaire's habits and assuming copying them will lead to the same result, while ignoring thousands who tried and failed. How to avoid it? Study both failures and successes. Ask: what's missing from this picture? Avoid oversimplifying complex outcomes. Strategic thinkers learn from all outcomes, not just the glamorous ones. How to develop a bias-resistant mind. 1. Build a thinking process. Use structured decision-making tools. Pros and cons list. Decision trees. Pre-mortem analysis. Imagining a decision failed and asking why. These tools force you to think beyond emotion or instinct. Point 2. Embrace dissent. Welcome disagreement from thoughtful peers. Strategic thinkers view debate not as conflict, but as a sharpening tool. Point 3. Reflect. Often journaling your decisions and revisiting them helps you spot recurring thinking errors and improve over time. Point 4. Create psychological distance. Pause before reacting. Ask yourself, what would I advise a friend to do in this situation? This mental trick often reveals a clearer answer. Closing thought. Cognitive biases are not signs of weakness. They're part of being human. But strategic thinkers refuse to let them rule their decisions. They train their minds to rise above instinct and habit. They create systems, ask better questions, and embrace feedback, not because they doubt themselves, but because they value clarity more than ego. Remember, thinking clearly is a competitive advantage. The more you guard your decisions against bias, the sharper your strategy will become. In the next chapter, we'll explore how to build strategic habits, daily practices that help you consistently think, act, and lead with intention. Chapter 8. Turning strategy into execution. From insight to impact. Strategic thinking is powerful, but only when it's put into motion. A brilliant idea, a well-mapped vision, or a perfectly designed plan has no value until it's acted upon. Strategy without execution is like a blueprint without a building, a map without a journey. To make a real difference, strategy must translate into consistent, intelligent, and focused action. In this chapter, we move from the mental realm to the real world. You'll learn how to bridge the gap between intention and implementation, how to overcome the friction of inaction, and how to build a system where strategy naturally flows into execution. Why execution matters more than ideas. We often admire great thinkers, visionaries who dream of change or disruption. But history doesn't remember those with ideas alone. It remembers those who acted on them. The world is filled with unexecuted strategies, startups with brilliant business models that never launched, organizations with detailed plans that sat untouched, individuals with life-changing goals they never pursued. The difference between a strategist and a successful strategist is this: the ability to execute. The strategy execution gap. Many people and teams fall into what's called the strategy execution gap. This is the space between what you intend to do and what actually gets done. Common reasons include overplanning and underdoing, lack of clarity on next steps, no ownership or accountability, fear of failure, or perfectionism, misalignment between vision and daily activity. To close this gap, you must translate ideas into actions and actions into consistent habits. Principle 1. Clarity creates motion. The first rule of execution is clarity. People don't take action when they're confused. Your strategy must be distilled into specific, understandable objectives. Ask, what exactly are we trying to accomplish? How will success be measured? What must happen first, next, and last? Break large goals into smaller, actionable steps. Strategic clarity means that everyone knows what matters, what's next, and who's doing it. Clarity kills procrastination. Principle 2. Create feedback loop. Strategic execution is not a one-time event. It's an ongoing cycle of action, reflection, and adjustment. To keep a strategy alive, you need feedback loops. These help you track progress, spot problems early, adjust direction as needed, stay accountable. Examples of feedback loops: weekly reviews or check-ins, performance dashboards, progress journaling, regular team retrospectives. If you're not measuring progress, you're flying blind. Great execution is guided by data, not just hope. Principle 3. Align the team with the vision. In any organization, or even within yourself, alignment is critical. Execution fails when strategy lives in the minds of a few but hasn't been communicated clearly to those responsible for acting on it. Align strategy with execution. Share the why behind the strategy. Ensure everyone understands their role. Translate strategy into team-specific goals. Encourage questions, input, and ownership. Execution improves dramatically when people feel part of the mission, not just tools to fulfill it. Principle 4. Embrace imperfect action. Many strategies stall because people wait for the perfect moment, the perfect product, or the perfect plan. But execution thrives on momentum, not perfection. Remember, done is better than perfect. Small steps build confidence. Imperfect action teaches faster than endless planning. Strategic execution means being willing to test, learn, and adapt. You don't need all the answers to start. You need the courage to move. Principle 5. Build execution systems. Systems turn strategy into habit. They remove the need for constant willpower or motivation. When you design systems that support your goals, action becomes automatic. For individuals, systems might include morning routines that set direction, time blocking for deep work, weekly planning and reflection rituals. For teams or businesses, systems may involve project management tools, standard operating procedures, SOPs. Regular review cycle. Systems are the silent engines behind consistent execution. Without them, strategy becomes scattered and reactive, turning personal strategy into daily habits. Let's say your personal strategy is to become more mentally resilient. That's a powerful goal, but how do you execute it? You break it down into daily, repeatable actions. Morning mindfulness practice, 10 minutes. Daily journaling to build self-awareness. Weekly challenge reviews to track emotional growth. Execution lives in the calendar, not the imagination. What doesn't get scheduled rarely gets done. Overcoming common execution barriers. Even with good strategy, many people get stuck. Here are the most common execution blockers and how to beat them. 1. Lack of focus. 2. Many priorities dilute impact. Solution: ruthlessly prioritize. Ask, what one thing, if done consistently, moves everything else forward? 2. Fear of failure. Many delay execution out of fear that it won't work. Solution: redefine failure. Every action is data. The only true failure is not trying. Point 3. Perfection often hides procrastination. Solution: set deadlines. Launch version 1. Improve later. Point 4. No accountability without accountability. Even strong strategies drift. Solution: use accountability. Partners, mentors, or team check-ins. Make your progress visible. Execution case study. Amazon's long-term strategy has always been to become the world's most customer-centric company. But their success didn't come from planning alone. It came from relentless execution. They break strategy into small, testable experiments, obsess over metrics and feedback, empower teams to act fast, and fail forward, create systems to streamline everything from delivery to innovation. Amazon teaches us execution isn't flashy, it's daily, disciplined, and data-driven. The execution flywheel. Think of execution as a flywheel. Hard to start, but once in motion, it builds its own momentum. The flywheel works like this. Act. Start with small, clear steps. Measure. Track what's working and what isn't. Adapt. Adjust the plan without abandoning the goal. Repeat. Build consistency until results compound. Each turn of the flywheel makes the next easier. This is how good strategy becomes great outcomes. From strategic thinking to strategic living, execution isn't limited to business. It applies to health, relationships, learning, and personal growth. The most fulfilled people don't just think strategically, they live strategically. They set intentions, align actions with values, use time and energy wisely, review and adjust their direction regularly. In this way, execution becomes not just a discipline, but a lifestyle. Closing thought. A strategy without execution is a dream. But a strategy brought to life through daily, focused effort, that's transformation. That don't wait for perfect conditions. Don't overanalyze your next move. Begin where you are. Use what you have. Execute consistently. Refine continuously. Because in the end, the strategist who wins isn't the one with the best ideas. It's the one who makes their ideas real. In the next chapter, we'll explore the role of adaptability. Pivoting without losing purpose. Because in a fast-changing world, the ability to adjust your course without abandoning your vision is the ultimate form of strategic power. Chapter 9. Learning from the Masters. Timeless strategic lesson. Strategy is both an art and a science. Throughout history, some of the greatest minds have demonstrated timeless principles that continue to guide successful thinking and action today. From ancient generals to modern business leaders, the masters of strategy offer us invaluable lessons. Lessons that transcend time, culture, and industry. In this chapter, we'll explore key strategic insights drawn from some of history's most renowned strategists. By studying their approaches, successes, and failures, you can enrich your own strategic mindset and apply these enduring truths in your life and work. Why study the masters? When you learn from the masters, you shortcut your own path. Their experiences compress decades or centuries of trial and error into powerful wisdom. These leaders teach you how to think several moves ahead, how to balance boldness with patience, how to turn constraints into advantages, how to lead with vision and adapt with humility. By internalizing their lessons, you build a foundation of proven strategic principles, tools to sharpen your own decision-making in any arena. Lesson 1. Sun Tzu. The Power of Preparation and Deception. The ancient Chinese general Sun Tzu wrote The Art of War over 2 millennia ago, yet his insights remain profoundly relevant. His core message: all warfare is based on deception. Key takeaways: know yourself and your enemy. Strategic success begins with deep understanding of your own strengths and weaknesses and those of your competition. Winning without fighting. The best victory is the one achieved through superior strategy, avoiding direct conflict when possible. Adapt to circumstances. Flexibility and responsiveness are critical. Rigid plans often fail. Sun Tzu teaches that winning is less about brute force and more about intelligence, preparation, and subtlety. Lesson 2. Napoleon Bonaparte. Speed and decisiveness. Napoleon's military campaigns revolutionized warfare with their speed, boldness, and innovative tactics. He understood that momentum is a strategic weapon. Key takeaways: act swiftly to seize the initiative. Delay allows opponents to regroup. Concentrate. Forces at decisive points. Focus resources where they'll have the greatest impact. Use surprise and unpredictability. Keep your adversaries off balance. Napoleon's approach teaches us the value of decisive action and concentrating effort for maximum effect. Principles equally powerful in business and personal leadership. Lesson 3. Niccolò Machiavelli, Realpolitik. In Power Dynamics, Machiavelli's writings on political power reveal the sometimes uncomfortable realities of leadership and strategy. His work reminds us to be pragmatic and realistic about human nature. Key takeaways. Power is fluid and must be maintained vigilantly. Appearances matter. Reputation can influence others more than actual strength. Flexibility trumps ideology. Leaders must adapt tactics to changing circumstances. Machiavelli advises strategic thinkers to balance ethics with effectiveness, always aware of the practical realities of power and influence. Lesson 4. Dwight D. Eisenhower, Planning and Prioritization. The former U.S. President and Supreme Allied Commander Eisenhower famously said, "Plans are worthless, but planning is everything." Key takeaways. Planning sharpens thinking, even if plans change. Prioritize ruthlessly. Use the Eisenhower matrix to separate urgent from important. Delegate effectively. Leaders can't do everything themselves. Eisenhower's leadership teaches the power of disciplined preparation combined with flexible execution. Lesson 5. Peter Drucker, Managing for Results. Known as the father of modern management, Peter Drucker emphasized effectiveness over efficiency. Key takeaways. Focus on results, not activity. Working hard is useless without clear outcomes. Know your strengths and the strengths of your team. Innovate continuously. Strategy must evolve with changing environments. Drucker's insights guide strategic thinkers to build organizations and lives that produce meaningful impact. Lesson 6. Warren Buffett, Patience and Circle of Competence. Buffett's investment success is a lesson in patience, discipline, and self-awareness. Key takeaways. Invest within your circle of competence. Know what you understand deeply and stick to it. Be patient. Great results often take years. Avoid herd mentality. Independent thinking is key. Buffett reminds us that strategic thinking is not about quick wins, but about consistent, thoughtful decisions. Lesson 7. Steve Jobs, Vision and Innovation. Jobs' legacy shows the power of visionary strategy combined with relentless execution. Key takeaways. Focus on creating exceptional products and experiences. Simplify relentlessly. Complexity confuses customers and dilutes impact. Challenge the status quo. Innovation requires boldness and willingness to fail. Jobs teaches strategic thinkers to combine creativity with customer obsession and execution. Discipline. How to apply these lessons in your life. Studying the masters is not about copying their every move. It's about extracting principles and applying them with your own unique context. Here are steps to do this effectively. Reflect on each lesson. What resonates with your current challenges? Adapt lessons to your context. Translate military, political, or business strategy into your personal or professional domain. Integrate lessons into daily practice. Use their wisdom as mental models for decision-making. Learn continuously. Strategy is a lifelong journey, not a destination. The master strategist's mindset. To truly learn from the masters, cultivate these qualities. Humility. Know there's always more to learn. Curiosity. Seek diverse perspectives and new ideas. Discipline. Practice strategic thinking regularly. Resilience. Learn from failures and adapt. The masters succeeded because they combined knowledge with mindset, and so can you. Closing thought. The timeless masters of strategy remind us that while tools and technology evolve, human nature and the fundamentals of decision-making remain constant. Their lessons offer a compass for navigating complexity, uncertainty, and competition. As you continue your strategic journey, carry these lessons with you. Let them inspire deeper thinking, wiser choices, and bolder actions. In the next chapter, we will dive into the role of adaptability, pivoting without losing purpose, exploring how flexibility and resilience turn strategy into lasting success. Chapter 10. The role of adaptability, pivoting without losing purpose. In an ever-changing world, the ability to adapt is not just valuable, it is essential. No strategy, no matter how brilliant, is immune to disruption. Markets evolve, technologies advance, competitors emerge, and unforeseen challenges arise. What separates successful strategists from those who falter is their capacity to pivot without losing sight of their core purpose. Adaptability is the bridge between vision and reality. It's the art of adjusting your approach while staying anchored to what truly matters. In this chapter, we'll explore why adaptability is a cornerstone of strategic success, how to pivot effectively, and how to maintain purpose in the face of change. Why adaptability matters more than ever. The pace of change today is unprecedented. Economic shifts, digital transformation, geopolitical uncertainty, and social evolution mean yesterday's winning strategy can become obsolete overnight. Rigid adherence to a fixed plan can lead to missed opportunities, stagnation, decline, or failure. Conversely, adaptability allows you to respond proactively to change, seize new opportunities as they arise, sustain growth in volatile environments. Strategic thinkers understand that the only constant is change, and the smartest way to win is to flow with it, not fight it. Adaptability versus losing purpose. The balancing act. While flexibility is vital, it can be dangerous if it leads to drifting away from your mission or values. Many organizations and individuals pivot so frequently that they lose identity, confuse stakeholders, and sacrifice long-term credibility. The key is to pivot without losing purpose. Stay anchored in your core values and long-term vision. Adjust. Tactics, not your fundamental reason for being. Use purpose as a compass to guide decisions amid uncertainty. Adaptability without purpose is chaos. Purpose without adaptability is rigidity. Signs you need to pivot. How do you know when it's time to change course? Look for these signals. Your current strategy consistently fails to deliver results. Market conditions, customer needs, or technology have shifted significantly. Competitors are outpacing you with new models or innovations. Internal morale or engagement is declining. External feedback highlights disconnect or irrelevance. Pivoting is not a sign of weakness, it's strategic responsiveness. How to pivot strategically. 1. Assess the situation objectively before making changes. Gather data and perspectives. Avoid reactionary decisions driven by fear or ego. Ask, what is working and what isn't? What assumptions have changed? What are our core strengths? Where is the market heading? 2. Clarify your core purpose. Remind yourself and your team of your mission. This clarity prevents mission creep and keeps everyone aligned during transitions. 3. Define new tactical goals. Translate your pivot into specific, measurable objectives. What will you start doing differently? What will you stop for? Communicate. Transparently. Change can cause anxiety and confusion. Communicate the reasons for the pivot clearly and openly. Engage stakeholders in the process to build trust and ownership. 5. Experiment and learn. Treat the pivot as an experiment. Use rapid cycles of action, feedback, and adjustment. This iterative approach reduces risk and builds momentum. The power of resilience in adaptability. Adaptability isn't just about changing course. It's about enduring challenges with resilience. Resilient strategists embrace setbacks as learning opportunities. Maintain optimism without losing realism. Stay committed to purpose even when outcomes are uncertain. Resilience fuels the energy needed to pivot and persevere. Case study: Netflix's pivot from DVD rentals to streaming. Netflix started as a DVD by mail rental service. But as technology and consumer behavior changed, the company recognized that sticking to its original model would limit growth. By embracing adaptability, Netflix invested heavily in streaming technology, shifted content acquisition strategies, expanded into original programming, all while maintaining its core purpose: to provide customers with convenient access to great entertainment. This pivot transformed Netflix into a global leader in entertainment, demonstrating adaptability anchored in purpose. Avoiding common pitfalls in pivoting. 1. Changing. 2. Often constant pivots without time to execute can confuse teams and customers. Solution: commit to a pivot long enough to learn and measure impact. 2. Losing focus on core strengths in chasing new trends. Some abandon what made them successful. Solution: use your core competencies as a foundation for new strategies. 3. Poor communication. Lack of clarity breeds rumors and resistance. Solution: be transparent, frequent, and authentic in messaging. cultivating an adaptable mindset. 1. Stay curious, always question the status quo. Seek new knowledge, trends, and perspectives. Point 2. Embrace change as opportunity, view change as a chance to innovate rather than a threat. Point 3. Practice flexibility daily, build adaptability habits through small changes. Try new methods, learn new skills, and remain open to feedback. Point 4. Reflect regularly, make time to review progress and environmental shifts. Reflection uncovers the need for adjustment before crises emerge. Closing thought: adaptability is not abandoning your path, but refining it. It's the strategic art of balancing stability with flexibility, vision with pragmatism, and courage with humility. When you master this balance, you transform obstacles into opportunities and uncertainty into competitive advantage. In a world that never stops evolving, adaptability is your most powerful tool to stay relevant, resilient, and ready. Chapter 11. Building a strategic culture. Leading for long-term success. Strategy is not just a plan or a process. It is a culture. For any organization, team, or even personal endeavor to thrive over the long term, strategic thinking must become embedded in the very fabric of daily life. This means fostering an environment where foresight, innovation, adaptability, and accountability are not occasional behaviors, but shared values. In this chapter, we'll explore what it takes to build and lead a strategic culture, a culture that supports continuous learning, empowers individuals, and drives sustainable success. Whether you're leading a company, managing a team, or shaping your own habits, understanding how to cultivate this culture is a crucial step toward lasting impact. Why culture matters more than strategy. Allenites often said that culture eats strategy for breakfast. This highlights a simple truth. Even the best strategies can fail if the culture doesn't support them. Strategy sets direction, but culture shapes behavior. A strategic culture aligns everyone's mindset and actions with the organization's long-term vision. It encourages proactive problem-solving, thoughtful risk-taking, and collaborative learning. Without this culture, strategy remains an abstract document or a one-time initiative. Great leaders know that creating a strategic culture is just as important as crafting the strategy itself. Core elements of a strategic culture. 1. Shared vision and purpose. A strong culture starts with a clear, compelling vision that inspires commitment. Communicate the why behind your strategy. Help everyone understand how their roles contribute to bigger goals. Reinforce purpose consistently through storytelling, recognition, and leadership actions. When people feel connected to a shared mission, they become motivated to think strategically. Point 2. Continuous learning and curiosity. A strategic culture embraces learning as a continuous process. Encourage questioning assumptions. Celebrate failures as opportunities to grow. Provide resources and time for skill development. Curiosity fuels innovation and helps teams adapt in dynamic environments. Point 3. Empowerment and accountability. Culture thrives when people feel empowered to make decisions and are held accountable for results. Delegate authority and trust your teams. Set clear expectations and measurable goals. Provide feedback that is timely, constructive, and focused on improvement. This balance creates ownership and drives disciplined execution. Point 4. Open communication and transparency. Transparent communication builds trust, aligns efforts, and surfaces challenges early. Foster open dialogue across all levels. Share successes, failures, and lessons learned. Encourage diverse perspectives and respectful debate. A culture where voices are heard is more resilient and agile. Point 5. Collaboration over competition. While healthy competition can spur performance, a culture focused solely on rivalry undermines strategic thinking. Promote cross-functional teamwork. Align incentives with collective success. Break down silos that hinder information flow. Collaboration leverages diverse skills and insights to solve complex problems strategically. Leading the shift. How leaders build strategic culture. Lead by example. Leadership behavior sets the tone. Demonstrate strategic thinking in your own decisions and communication. Show openness to feedback and willingness to adapt. Embed strategy in daily work. Make strategy visible and relevant. Incorporate strategic goals into performance reviews. Link daily tasks to long-term objectives. Use regular meetings to discuss progress and insights. Invest in talent development, provide training in critical thinking, problem-solving, and decision-making. Encourage mentorship and knowledge sharing. Recognize and reward strategic behavior. Celebrate individuals and teams who demonstrate foresight, innovation, and collaboration. Rewards reinforce desired cultural traits, tools, and practices to foster strategic culture. Strategy workshops and scenario planning engage teams in exercises that develop future-oriented thinking and preparedness for uncertainty. Feedback systems use 360-degree feedback, suggestion platforms, and open forums to encourage continuous improvement. Knowledge management creates systems to capture and share lessons learned, best practices, and market intelligence. Rituals and symbols. Cultural rituals, like storytelling sessions, innovation days, or recognition ceremonies, reinforce shared values. Challenges in building strategic culture. Resistance to change. Long-standing habits and mindsets can be hard to shift. Patience, empathy, and consistent communication are key. Short-term pressures, quarterly results, and urgent fires often crowd out strategic focus. Leaders must balance immediate demands with long-term priorities. Misalignment when leadership teams or departments send mixed messages, culture suffers. Alignment at all levels is critical. Measuring strategic culture. Assess culture regularly through surveys, interviews, and performance data. Look for indicators such as employee engagement with strategic goals, frequency of innovation and improvement initiatives, quality of cross-team collaboration, responsiveness to change. Use insights to refine culture-building efforts continuously. The payoff: sustainable success and competitive advantage. Organizations with strong strategic cultures consistently outperform their peers. They innovate faster, navigate disruptions more smoothly, retain top talent, build lasting trust with customers and partners. Culture is the engine that drives strategy from vision to reality. Closing thought: building a strategic culture is a journey, not a destination. It requires intention, persistence, and leadership that inspires others to think beyond the day to be. Why cultivating a culture where strategic thinking is a shared value and everyday practice. You create the foundation for long-term success, one that can weather uncertainty, embrace change, and seize new opportunities. Chapter 12: Strategic Tools and Frameworks. Practical methods to enhance your thinking. Strategic thinking is both an art and a discipline. While mindset and culture set the foundation, having the right tools and frameworks can significantly enhance your ability to analyze, decide, and act with clarity and confidence. These tools provide structure to your thinking, help you navigate complexity, and make abstract ideas actionable. In this chapter, we will explore a variety of proven strategic tools and frameworks that you can apply to improve your problem-solving, planning, and execution. Whether you're leading a business, managing a project, or making personal decisions, these methods will sharpen your strategic edge. Why use strategic tools? Without tools, strategic thinking can feel overwhelming, full of vague ideas and endless possibilities. Tools help by breaking down complex problems into manageable parts, clarifying priorities and trade-offs, providing systematic ways to evaluate options, facilitating communication and alignment among teams, creating repeatable processes that improve over time. Using frameworks doesn't replace creativity or intuition. It complements them with discipline and rigor. Point 1. SWOT analysis: strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats. One of the most widely used strategic tools, SWOT helps you assess internal and external factors influencing your situation. Strengths: what do you do well? What resources or capabilities give you an advantage? Weaknesses: where are your vulnerabilities? What could be improved? Opportunities: what external trends or gaps can you exploit? Threats: what external challenges or competitors could harm your position? By mapping these, you gain a balanced view that guides strategy formulation. Point 2. The Balanced Scorecard. Developed by Kaplan and Norton, the Balanced Scorecard translates vision into measurable objectives across 4 perspectives. Financial: how do we look to shareholders? Customer: how do customers perceive us? Internal processes: what must we excel at? Learning and growth: how do we innovate and improve? This framework helps ensure your strategy is holistic, balancing short-term results with long-term capabilities. Point 3. Porter's 5 Forces. Michael Porter's model analyzes the competitive forces in an industry to assess profitability potential, threat of new entrants. How easy is it for others to enter your market? Bargaining power of suppliers. How much influence do your suppliers have? Bargaining power of customers. How much leverage do your buyers have? Threat of substitute products or services. Are alternatives available? Competitive rivalry. How intense is competition? Understanding these forces helps you position strategically to create defensible advantages. Point 4. The Eisenhower Matrix, Urgent Important Matrix. This time management tool helps prioritize tasks based on urgency and importance. Urgent and important. Do these tasks immediately. Important, not urgent. Schedule these tasks. Urgent, not important. Delegate these tasks. Not urgent, not important. Eliminate or minimize these tasks. Applying this matrix ensures your actions align with strategic priorities rather than reactive pressures. Point 5. Scenario planning. Scenario planning prepares you for multiple possible futures by exploring different what-if situations. Identify critical uncertainties, e.g., market shifts, regulations. Develop plausible scenarios that could impact your strategy. Create contingency plans for each scenario. This tool increases strategic flexibility and reduces surprises. Point 6. Decision trees. Decision trees provide a visual map of choices, possible outcomes, risks, and rewards. Break decisions into branches representing alternatives. Assign probabilities and values to outcomes. Analyze to identify the most advantageous path. Decision trees help clarify complex decisions with multiple variables. Point 7. The PDCA cycle, Plan, Do, Check, Act, also known as the Deming cycle. PDCA is a continuous improvement framework. Plan, identify objectives, and design actions. Do, implement the plan on a small scale. Check, measure and evaluate results. Act, refine and scale based on learning. Using PDCA keeps strategy iterative, adaptive, and data-driven. Point 8. The 5 Whys. A simple but powerful root cause analysis tool. When faced with a problem, ask why 5 times, or as many as needed. 2. Uncover underlying causes instead of symptoms. This method fosters deeper understanding and more effective solutions. Point 9. The VRIO framework. VRIO helps evaluate resources and capabilities for sustainable competitive advantage. Value. Does the resource add value? Rarity. Is it rare or unique? Imitability. Is it difficult to imitate? Organization. Is your organization equipped to exploit it? Resources that meet all criteria are strategic assets. Point 10. Mind mapping. Mind maps visually organize ideas and relationships around a central concept. They help in brainstorming, problem-solving, and planning by showing connections and hierarchies. Mind mapping encourages creativity while maintaining clarity. Integrating tools into your strategic practice. Choose the right tool for the task. No single framework fits all situations. Match tools to your current challenge. Analysis, decision-making, prioritization, or communication. Use tools collaboratively. Engage your team when applying tools. Diverse perspectives enrich analysis and foster buy-in. Make tools part of your routine. Incorporate frameworks into regular meetings, reviews, and planning sessions. Consistent use builds muscle memory and sharpens strategic thinking. Digital tools and software. Today's technology offers many digital platforms to support these frameworks, such as project management software, Asana, Trello, data visualization tools, Tableau, Power BI, collaboration platforms, Slack, Microsoft Teams, strategy software, Cascade. ClearPoint. Leveraging these tools can streamline execution and improve transparency. Closing thought. Mastering strategic tools and frameworks equips you to navigate complexity with confidence and precision. They transform abstract concepts into actionable plans and empower you to lead with insight. As you grow in strategic thinking, remember that tools are aids, not crutches. Use them wisely, adapt them to your context, and combine them with judgment and creativity. In the next chapter, we'll explore strategic communication, influencing and inspiring action, where you will learn how to convey your strategy effectively and motivate others to join you on your journey. Chapter 13. Strategic Communication, Influencing and Inspiring Action Strategy. No matter how brilliant, remains powerless if it cannot be communicated effectively. At its core, strategic communication is about conveying your vision, ideas, and plans in a way that influences others and inspires meaningful action. Whether you are leading a team, pitching a project, or shaping public opinion, mastering strategic communication is essential to turning thought into impact. In this chapter, we will explore the art and science of communicating strategically, how to craft compelling messages, tailor communication to your audience, and use storytelling and persuasion to align people with your strategic goals. Why strategic communication matters. Communication is the lifeblood of strategy. It ensures that everyone understands the why, what, and how of your strategy. Stakeholders are motivated and engaged. Resistance is minimized through clarity and transparency. Collaboration flourishes through shared understanding. Poor communication can lead to confusion, misalignment, and lost opportunities. Effective strategic communication builds trust and momentum. Knowing your audience. The foundation of strategic communication is deep knowledge of your audience. Different stakeholders, executives, employees, customers, partners, have unique interests, concerns, and levels of understanding. Communicate strategically. Segment your audience. Identify key groups and tailor messages accordingly. Understand their needs and values. What motivates them? What objections might they have? Speak their language. Use terminology, tone, and examples that resonate. When your audience feels seen and understood, your message lands with more power. Crafting a clear and compelling message. Clarity and simplicity are crucial. Complex jargon or vague statements dilute your message. Elements of a strong strategic message. Purpose. Start with the why this strategy matters. Vision. Paint a clear picture of the desired future. Benefits. Explain what's in it for the audience. Call to action. Tell people exactly what you want them to do. Keep it concise and focused. Repeat core points to reinforce understanding. The power of storytelling. Stories connect emotionally and make abstract ideas concrete. Strategic thinkers who master storytelling can make data and plans relatable, inspire commitment and loyalty, overcome skepticism with narratives of success and resilience. A good strategic story includes a protagonist, the organization, team, or customer, a challenge or conflict, the strategic solution or journey, a hopeful or impactful outcome. Use stories strategically to humanize your message and drive engagement. Using persuasion ethically. Influence is a key part of strategic communication. Ethical persuasion respects autonomy while guiding decisions. Core principles of ethical persuasion. Credibility. Build trust through honesty and expertise. Logic. Support claims with facts and sound reasoning. Emotion. Connect through values. And shared purpose. Reciprocity. Offer value before asking for commitment. When you combine these elements, your communication becomes a force for positive influence. Channels and timing. Choosing the right channels and timing can amplify your message. Formal presentations for key decision makers. Email updates for ongoing communication. Workshops and Q&A sessions for engagement and feedback. Social media and digital platforms for broader reach. Timing matters. Align communication with milestones, changes, or external events to maximize impact. Listening as part of communication. Effective communication is two-way. Listening actively to feedback, concerns, and ideas improves your strategy and builds rapport. Create forums for dialogue. Town hall surveys, one-on-one meetings. Listening signals respect and openness, critical for sustained support. Overcoming communication barriers. Be aware of common barriers. Information overload, misinterpretation, cultural differences. Resistance to change. Address these by simplifying messages, checking understanding, and adapting communication styles. Aligning communication with execution. Communication is not a one-time event, but an ongoing process that supports execution. Use communication to reinforce progress and celebrate milestones. Share stories of success to motivate continued effort. Address setbacks transparently to maintain trust. This continuous dialogue keeps strategy alive in everyday actions. Leading with communication. As a leader, your communication sets the tone. Be visible and approachable. Model the behaviors and attitudes you want to see. Use communication to empower, inspire, and unify. Leadership communication builds the culture and momentum necessary for strategic success. Closing thought mastering. Strategic communication transforms your ideas into shared vision and coordinated action. It bridges the gap between planning and impact. When you speak clearly, listen deeply, and connect authentically, you inspire others to join you, not just in understanding your strategy, but in living it. Chapter 14. Measuring Strategic Success. Metrics and Feedback Loop Strategy without measurement is like sailing without a compass. No matter how well you plan or how boldly you act, without clear metrics and feedback, it's impossible to know whether your efforts are succeeding or where adjustments are needed. Measuring strategic success is essential to maintaining direction, optimizing performance, and learning continuously. In this chapter, we will explore how to define meaningful metrics, implement effective feedback loops, and create a culture of measurement that drives ongoing strategic improvement. Why measuring success matters. Measurement serves several critical purposes. Validation confirms whether your strategy is delivering intended results. Insight reveals what's working, what's not, and why. Motivation provides tangible evidence of progress, boosting morale. Accountability ensures individuals and teams own their contributions. Adaptation enables timely course corrections. Based on data, without measurement, strategy becomes guesswork. Metrics and feedback turn strategy into a living, evolving practice. Defining the right metrics. Not all metrics are equally valuable. Choosing the right metrics requires understanding what truly reflects strategic goals. Characteristics of good metrics: aligned, directly linked to strategic objectives. Measurable, quantifiable or qualifiable with available data. Actionable, provide insight that can inform decisions. Balanced, cover different aspects: financial, operational, customer. Learning, timely, available frequently enough to guide adjustments. Avoid vanity metrics that look good but don't inform strategy. Types of metrics to consider. 1. Leading versus lagging indicators. Leading indicators predict future performance, e.g., customer inquiries, product development milestones. Lagging indicators show past results, e.g., revenue, market share. Effective measurement combines both to anticipate and evaluate outcomes. Point 2. Quantitative versus qualitative metrics. Quantitative, numbers, percentages, counts. Qualitative, customer feedback, employee sentiment, brand reputation. Both types provide a richer understanding. Setting key performance indicators, KPIs. KPIs are the critical few metrics that gauge success in key areas. Steps to set KPIs. Identify strategic priorities. Select KPIs that reflect progress toward these priorities. Define clear targets or benchmarks. Assign ownership and reporting frequency. KPIs focus attention and drive accountability. Establishing feedback loops. Metrics alone are not enough. They must be part of a continuous feedback system. What are feedback loops? Cycles of collecting data, analyzing it, communicating findings, and taking action to improve. Effective feedback loops include regular review meetings, weekly, monthly, or quarterly check-ins, dashboards and reports, visual tools that display real-time data, open communication, channels, forums where teams can discuss results and challenges, iterative planning, adjusting strategy based on feedback. Feedback loops keep strategy dynamic and responsive. Creating a measurement culture. Measurement works best when embraced as part of the culture, not as a top-down imposition. To build this culture, encourage transparency about performance. Frame metrics as tools for learning, not punishment. Celebrate data-driven successes. Train teams to understand and use metrics effectively. A culture of measurement empowers continuous improvement. Common measurement challenges. 1. Data overload. Too much information can overwhelm decision-making. Solution: focus on key metrics, filter noise, and simplify reporting. Point 2. Misaligned metrics. Using metrics that don't support strategy leads to wasted effort. Solution: regularly review and align metrics with evolving goals. Point 3. Delayed data. Slow access to information reduces responsiveness. Solution: invest in real-time or near real-time data systems. Case study: Google's OKRs, objectives, and key results. Google uses OKRs to link ambitious objectives with measurable key results. Objectives are qualitative and inspirational. Key results are quantitative and time-bound. This framework creates clear alignment and a rhythm of measurement and adjustment, fueling innovation and growth. Using measurement to drive adaptation, the true value of metrics lies in their ability to inform decisions and change course when needed. Analyze data for patterns and root causes. Test hypotheses with small experiments. Scale successful changes. Learn from failures openly. This iterative approach transforms measurement from a static report into a powerful strategic tool. Closing thought: measuring strategic success is both a science and an art. It requires thoughtful selection of metrics, disciplined collection of data, and a mindset that embraces feedback as fuel for growth. Why building robust feedback loops and a culture that values measurement. You turn strategy into a living, breathing process, one that evolves with insight, adapts with agility, and achieves lasting impact. Chapter 15. The Future of Strategic Thinking. Embracing innovation and technology. As we stand on the brink of an era defined by rapid technological advancement and relentless innovation, the very nature of strategic thinking is evolving. The future demands new skills, new tools, and a mindset that embraces change rather than resists it. Those who can integrate emerging technologies with human creativity will shape not only their own success, but the world's future. In this chapter, we explore how strategic thinking must adapt to the digital age, the role of innovation and technology in strategy, and how you can prepare to lead with foresight in this dynamic landscape. The changing landscape of strategy. Traditional strategy, often focused on stable markets, predictable competition, and linear growth. Today's environment is marked by exponential technological progress, AI, blockchain, IoT, quantum computing, disruptive business models that redefine industries overnight. Global interconnectedness creating new risks and opportunities. Accelerated change cycles demanding faster adaptation. This complexity and speed require strategic thinkers to be agile, tech-savvy, and deeply innovative. Innovation as the core of strategy. Innovation is no longer a separate function, but central to strategic advantage. It fuels new products, services, and processes. It creates new markets and reshapes existing ones. It enables organizations to solve complex challenges creatively. Think strategically. In the future, you must embed innovation into your core mindset and operations. The role of technology in enhancing strategic thinking. Technology provides unprecedented capabilities to gather, analyze, and act on information. Artificial intelligence and machine learning automate data analysis to uncover hidden patterns, predict trends and customer behaviors, support scenario planning with complex simulations. Big data and analytics offer real-time insights into markets and operations. Enable personalized strategies tailored to specific segments. Collaboration tools and platforms facilitate distributed teams and knowledge sharing. Accelerate decision-making and innovation cycles. Digital twins and simulation allow virtual testing of strategies in safe environments. Reduce risk and improve planning accuracy. Harnessing these tools amplifies human judgment and expands strategic possibilities. Cultivating a digital mindset. Being future-ready means adopting a digital mindset characterized by curiosity about emerging tech, openness to experimentation and failure, willingness to learn continuously, collaborative and cross-disciplinary thinking. This mindset transforms uncertainty into opportunity and complexity into clarity. Ethical considerations. In technology-driven strategy, as technology shapes strategy, ethical challenges arise. Data privacy and security, algorithmic bias, and fairness impact on employment and society. Strategic thinkers must integrate ethics and responsibility into innovation to build trust and sustainable value. Preparing for the unknown. Anticipatory strategy. The future is inherently uncertain, but strategic thinkers can anticipate and prepare by scanning emerging trends and weak signals, building flexible, modular strategies, developing ecosystems and partnerships for resilience. Investing in continuous learning and adaptive leadership. Anticipatory strategy balances boldness with caution, positioning you to seize advantage amidst disruption. Leading strategic transformation. Future leaders will drive transformation by inspiring a culture of innovation and agility, integrating technology, seamlessly into business models, empowering diverse teams to co-create the future, making data-informed but human-centered decisions. Leadership will be about orchestrating change, not just managing stability. Practical steps to embrace innovation and technology in your strategy. Educate yourself and your team. Stay updated on emerging technologies and their strategic implications. Invest in technology infrastructure. Build capabilities that support agile data use and digital collaboration. Experiment and pilot new ideas. Encourage small-scale tests to learn quickly and refine innovations. Partner with startups and tech experts. Leverage external expertise and fresh perspectives. Align technology with purpose. Ensure tech adoption supports your core mission and values. Closing thought. The future of strategic thinking lies at the intersection of human insight and technological power. By embracing innovation, cultivating a digital mindset, and leading with foresight and ethics, you position yourself and your organization not just to survive, but to thrive in the evolving landscape. Strategy will always be about making choices under uncertainty, but tomorrow's choices will be made smarter, faster, and more creatively with technology as a trusted ally. Conclusion. Think strategically, live intentionally. As we reach the close of this journey through the art of strategic thinking, it's important to pause and reflect on what it truly means to think strategically, and, more importantly, how that way of thinking transforms the way we live and lead. Strategic thinking is not a skill reserved for business leaders, generals, or planners. It is a mindset accessible to anyone willing to cultivate foresight, clarity, and purpose in their decisions. It shapes how you approach challenges, opportunities, relationships, and even your personal growth. To think strategically is to live intentionally. The essence of strategic thinking at its core, strategic thinking is about making choices with awareness of both the present moment and the future possibilities. It is the discipline of balancing vision with reality, planning with flexibility, and ambition with humility. Throughout this book, you've explored how strategic thinkers anticipate change and prepare thoughtfully. Use mental models to see patterns and simplify complexity. Avoid cognitive traps and biases that cloud judgment. Turn strategy into action with disciplined execution. Learn continuously and adapt without losing purpose. Lead with culture, communication, and measurement to sustain success. Embrace innovation and technology as tools, not threats, for growth. These elements combine to form a holistic approach that is dynamic and resilient. Living with intention. Strategic thinking naturally leads to intentional living because it asks you to clarify your purpose and align daily actions with it. Prioritize what truly matters over distractions and urgencies. Reflect regularly on progress and course correct as needed. Build relationships and cultures that support shared vision. Face uncertainty with curiosity and courage rather than fear. When you think strategically, every choice becomes a deliberate step toward your goals, values, and legacy. Beyond the professional, strategic thinking as a life skill. The power of strategic thinking extends far beyond business or organizational success. It enhances your personal life by helping you navigate complex relationships with empathy and foresight. Manage your time and energy to balance work, health, and joy. Invest in growth that aligns with your deeper aspirations. Cultivate resilience to weather setbacks and emerge stronger. Influence your community and environment positively. Strategic thinking is a compass that guides you toward a life of meaning and impact. Your ongoing journey. Remember, strategic thinking is not a destination, but a lifelong practice. It requires curiosity to keep learning, humility to accept mistakes, and courage to act decisively. Each day offers new challenges and opportunities to apply what you've learned here. The true mastery of strategic thinking is reflected in how consistently you live with intention and purpose. Final thought. Think strategically, not just as a technique, but as a way of being. Let it shape how you see the world, how you respond to change, and how you create the future you desire. Live intentionally, guided by clarity, courage, and conviction. In doing so, you don't just navigate life, you design it. The art of strategic thinking empowers you to become the architect of your own destiny. Thank you for allowing me to accompany you on this journey. May your strategic thinking lead to meaningful success and a deeply intentional life.